Hello everybody and welcome to Give a Hoot with Kresge Parliament, our new podcast that we're starting in fall of 2020. My name is Enrique and I use he, him, his pronouns. I've been involved with Kresge Parliament since my freshman year and I joined late in the fall quarter. Since then, I've gotten involved in outreach. I was an outreach officer for the academic year of 2019 to 2020. And over the summer for 2020, I have been working with the chair and vice chair, and we are currently working on a new position of outreach coordinator, which is something I'll talk about a little bit later in the podcast. So enough about myself, let's explain what exactly Kresge Parliament actually is. So at UCSC, all 10 of the residential colleges have their own student government, and Kresge is Kresge Parliament. What Kresge Parliament actually does is provide a space for participatory democracy, which welcomes all Kresge affiliates to discuss where our student fees actually go. So the money that you pay when you come to UCSC, Kresge Parliament kind of just decides where the Kresge funds go. Different organizations come to us to ask for funding. For example, multiple magazines on campus would often come to us in spring quarter to actually fund their magazines. So in Parliament there are multiple positions and I will go over just a few of them. The first position I want to talk about is the chair. The roles of the chair include making agendas for the meetings, so kind of just what we're going to talk about in each meeting. They also attend and lead all of the meetings. They tally the votes and keep order while traditionally remaining impartial during votes. The chair does have voting rights, as any member of Parliament does. However, traditionally, they have chosen to abstain from votes unless it is to act as a tiebreaker. The chair also represents Parliament at various events, but cannot speak unilaterally for the entirety of the organization. They manage the Parliament email, so if you email Kresge Parliament, the chair is most likely who is going to be responding to you. The chair also assumes the duties of any unfilled positions, including representing Kresge on a campus-wide committee. Next up is the vice chair position. One of the duties of the vice chair is to collaborate with the chair in administrative matters. This typically includes meeting outside of Parliament time and having a meeting with the college programs coordinator. The vice chair also acts as an authority on Parliament constitution and bylaws. It is their job to know everything in the Constitution, and if something occurs in the meeting that is unconstitutional, they bring awareness to that. The vice chair, along with the chair, also attend every single weekly meeting of Parliament. However, if the chair cannot attend a meeting that week, the vice chair would step in and take over their responsibilities. Next up, we have the secretary, and what the secretary does is record and format meetings into minutes. And what that means is they kind of just take notes on everything we talk about. If we have a vote happening in a meeting, they write down how many yeses or hoots we have, how many noes or scratches we have, as well as how many people have abstained from voting. If any motions are made and if anyone seconds that motion, that is also all recorded in the meeting minutes by our secretary. The secretary then relays these meeting minutes to the College Programs Coordinator, or CPC, to be publicly posted. Next, we have the treasurer. When an organization requests funding from Kresge Parliament, it is the treasurer who informs that organization of the outcome of their funding requests, meaning that the treasurer is the one who tells an organization, yes, Kresge Parliament has approved to fund you this amount of money, or no, unfortunately, Kresge Parliament has not voted to fund you this amount of money. They also record the budget and expenditures. In person, the treasurer has a budget book that goes back years prior, and it's actually really interesting to see how money was spent, although only the treasurer typically sees the budget book. The treasurer also attends weekly meetings with the Kresge budget analyst. Next up, we have the new position created over summer 2020 and currently being voted on whether the constitutional amendment will be made to make this an official position. And this position is the outreach coordinator. Traditionally, we have only had outreach officers. However, due to remote learning and social distancing, outreach needed a little bit more commitment, and so we have formed a new position as coordinator, which would oversee the outreach officers and outreach in general and kind of just make sure everything goes smoothly. They meet over summer with the chair and vice chair to kind of plan out what the outreach for fall is going to be like, and by extension that of the entire school year. In addition to regular positions, we also have Kresge representatives from Parliament, one of which is the Student Union Assembly representative, or SUA rep, as you will most commonly hear it. What the SUA rep does is represent Kresge in the Student Union Assembly. And what the Student Union Assembly is UCSC's central student government, and it is a campus-wide government instead of just college-specific. An analogy I like to use to explain it is to think of SUA as a more federal government level, and Kresge Parliament, along with the other college-specific governments, more as state-level governments. Each college has one elective representative for SUA and 2 appointed by that college's student government. This means we have 2 appointed Kresge representatives from Kresge Parliament specifically. What the representatives do is attend weekly meetings of the Student Union Assembly, and under the SUA Constitution, host weekly office hours, sit on an additional SUA-affiliated committee, and submit a monthly report back. The representative also acts in the best interest of Kresge students while discussing campus-wide and even UC-wide issues. In our Kresge Parliament meetings, we will have an SUA rep give a report back of what happened in the meeting, so that everybody is better informed. Another representative position is the Student Fee Advisory Committee representative, or SFAC for short. What this representative does is attend weekly meetings in the fall, winter, and spring quarter, as the council student fees meetings are quarterly and voluntary. This position is expected to be a 2-year commitment, although that is not strictly enforced. Currently, our SFAC representative is Brent, our vice chair, and he took on this position last year, which means he will be continuing his role this year. The SFAC rep also reports back to the college governments, or Parliament in this case, with updates, and they are required to hold office hours to be eligible for stipends. And this is a paid position. It pays $500 per quarter. However, because it is a stipend, it is not hourly wage, it's just a flat rate for the entire quarter. There's multiple other positions and representative positions that we just don't have time to talk about in this first episode of the podcast. However, if you want to check out what positions or just read more about them, you can go to our Kresge Parliament website, which you can find on the Kresge College website, kresge.ucsc.edu. And then you go under the Activities tab, go to Student Leadership, and then select Kresge Parliament. Once you get to that page, you can just scroll on to the bottom of it, and there will be a PowerPoint presentation that explains all of our positions. Something that's cool about Parliament is that we get swag every year. And by swag, I don't mean swagger, I mean swag as the acronym, stuff we all get. Traditionally, swag has included mugs, which have our Kresge Parliament logo on them, gavels, which are actually pencils with a double-sided eraser, shirts, hoodies, scarves, socks, and anything you can think of. If you have a suggestion for swag, you can bring it up in a meeting towards the end of winter quarter when we order it. The next topic I want to discuss, moving on from Parliament, is more how to find community in general. And the most common way is to actually just get involved. Other than Kresge Parliament, Kresge also has KMEC, or the Kresge Multicultural Education Committee. And KMEC is a space dedicated to Kresge students. And they also host Pride, which is a huge event that is campus-wide to show pride for the LGBT+ community. Kresge is also home to the Common Ground Center, a place that promotes social justice and sustainable environmental change and environmental justice. They focus on addressing systematic changes through research, advocacy, and civic engagement. Outside of Kresge, we have multiple resource centers and cultural identity organizations here at UCSC. In terms of resource centers, we have the Women's Center, which is located near the base of campus. The UCSC Women's Center honors our many historical struggles. fosters discussion for intergenerational and transnational views on feminism, and promotes open dialogue and activism. UCSC also has the Lionel Cantu Queer Resource Center, which is located by Merrill College. What the Cantu Queer Center does is envision a campus that connects, retains, and sustains queer and trans students, staff, faculty, and alumni. They envision communities where queer and trans people thrive and are fully liberated, valued, and celebrated. There is also the Asian American Pacific Islander Resource Center. The Asian American Pacific Islander Resource Center was established in 1999 and provides and enhances opportunities for developing leadership, building a stronger sense of community on campus, and linking students to community service opportunities. Ultimately, the Resource Center offers education and dialogue on issues affecting Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders towards addressing students' multiple and diverse academic, social, cultural, and other co-curricular needs. Students can also gain leadership experience through the Asian American Pacific Islander Resource Center through internships, volunteering, and/or participating on their student program. UCSC also has an American Indian Resource Center. The American Indian Resource Center is dedicated to supporting the needs of American Indian students and increasing Native visibility on campus by advocating student-centered programs, cultural events, and tools for academic success and well-being. The center serves as a vital link between American Indian students, the university, and tribal communities to foster growth through mentoring, leadership opportunities, and scholarly development. The American Indian Resource Center also serves as a supportive space for students to help ease the transition from home to campus life. In addition to all of that, there's also the African American Resource and Cultural Center. The African American Resource and Cultural Center was established in the 1990 to 91 school year by UCSC alumna and founding director Sister Paula L. Powell, class of '89. Since their founding as the first ethnic resource center at UCSC, they have striven to create and foster an environment in which students of African or Black descent excel personally, professionally, and academically through their commitment to celebrating their culture and providing multifaceted support and resources to students. The center provides a wide range of support, resources, and programs for students from the African diaspora at UCSC. They encourage and facilitate student involvement and success in campus life, student organizations, academic excellence, and community engagement. The center provides leadership training, conflict resolution, advisement, and advocacy for the diasporic community on campus. In addition to all of these resource centers and organizations, you can also find community within your peers. One of the easiest ways is to engage in class, especially in breakout rooms. If participating in class isn't your thing, you can always speak up in sections. Sections are usually for classes that are larger and are led by a TA or a teaching assistant, which is typically a graduate student whose studies closely reflect that of the class. If talking in section also isn't your style, consider going to office hours. Every TA and professor has office hours, and those are typically underutilized by students at UCSC. Go to your professor's office hours and just talk to them. It could be about the class, it could be about an interest related to the subject, or you can even just get them talking about their own work. I promise they'll be passionate and happy to talk about their own work and studies. When you do that, not only do you get to know your UCSC community even better, but you also get to know that professor better, which can come in handy if you need a letter of recommendation. If you have trouble in a class, you would feel more comfortable asking a question when you actually know the professor. In addition to all of UCSC's resource centers and organizations, you can also just join a club. If you want to find a club, it's super easy. You can just go to admissions.ucsc.edu. Once you click on Why UCSC, you can go to organizations, and it has every single registered club listed and categorized. Some of these include academic clubs, cultural and identity clubs, environmental and sustainability related clubs, general interests, Greek letter organizations, performing and visual arts, political and advocacy clubs, professional clubs, religious and spiritual clubs, service clubs, student media, and sports clubs. If you're interested in any of the clubs listed, the easiest way to find out more would be to contact them, and that could be as easy as doing a Google search of the name of the club. And if you have to get specific, just type UCSC along with it, and you're more likely than not to find at least one way to contact them. Once you're in a club, you can get to make more friends, and then you can meet their friends, and it just sets off a chain reaction of you becoming the most popular person at UCSC. If you want to find community online, but you don't want to join a club, you could always just go to the Kresge College Discord. The Kresge Discord was set up this quarter for fall 2020, and there's multiple channels relating to identity, hobbies, and even just talking with random people. In the short time since its launch and welcome week for the 2020-2021 academic year, the Discord has flourished with students both on and off campus connecting online while respecting social distancing, while still connecting with one another. If using Discord isn't your thing, but you still want to become friends with other Kresge affiliates, I suggest that you take advantage of your Kresge core class. The core class is one of the easiest ways to make friends with your Kresge community, as it's mandatory for every incoming freshman to take a college core class in the first quarter of their freshman year. That means everybody in your core class is in the exact same position as you. It's their first year at college, they're all Kresge affiliates, and they're all roughly around your age. The Kresge core class typically has different projects that allow for you to group up with new people and make friends. In fact, I, along with Anna, the chair, actually had the exact same Kresge core class our freshman year. That's how we became friends, and that's how she convinced me to join Kresge Parliament, and that was the best decision I could have made that quarter. I think that just about wraps us up for our first episode of Give a Hoot with Kresge Parliament. I would just like to thank you so much for listening to the end. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, worry not. This series will continue bi-weekly on Thursdays.